Democracy is not an event, it is a process. If you make it an event, then it is like Usain Bolt together with you. On your marks, get set, ready, go. He breaks the tape and he's first. So we make democracy like that we have a constitution, we have a 4-year term, we put all the ingredients there. When we have gotten the sufficiency of all the ingredients, we have a democracy. So we make it like an event. It should be a process of change and continuity. When we don't like something in our constitution, we change it. When we see that this will not help bring democracy, we change it. But don't tell me that when you have ballot, this, pink sheet, this, democracy, a lot of such events create instability. When we make democracy as an event instead of a process. So there is a confusion. For me, and this is why I want you to understand democracy. This is in one of my published articles also, that we confuse democracy with good governance. And then when we have democracy, we say good governance. That Ghana, we have a constitution. We have separation of powers. We have institutions of governance. Right? We have freedoms and rights. We have put them in our constitution. We have frequent and effective, free and doubtlessly fair elections. So with all these ingredients in Sudan, in Ghana, everywhere, democracy, isn't it? No. I'm saying my democracy is these. The democratic institutions and whatnot that you have. Plus, that's the presence of this, plus good visionary trait and transformational leadership. Constitutionalism. You can have a constitution without constitutionalism. We have that in Ghana. I've said it several times. For the past 20 years, I've been battling that. We have a constitution without constitutionalism. Because everybody is doing whatever he or she likes. Indiscipline. How can you have a constitution that's indiscipline? Somebody is missing, the police must act, and somebody is insulting the head of state. And the head of state is not a policeman. So if you know constitutionalism, you will obey the constitution all the time. Institutionalism, institutions of state are always bettered under the hypnosis of the governor. Every government, NDC or MPP, they want institutions of state to be under the armpit. So the institutions are not free. Before they act, they would like to look at their shoulder and ask, Master, can I do it? That's not democracy. I'll give you several examples. In my own country, my friend Chachujikata was arrested on a Sunday when he was going to church. He has done something before President Kufuor came to power. Well, the BNI, we hadn't changed the director of BNI, or they are the same people who are there. Then I asked myself, when Chechu, if he has done something, when he was in power and he was stealing or whatever they say he had done under the NDC, how did the BNI change quickly as an institution when Kufuor came to power? That's not institutionalism. Institutions work irrespective of who is ruling. Fast forward, as I'm watching, the government changed hands. He was traveling to US with a wife at the airport. This one was Sunday at the church, and this one is at the airport. The same BNI, who couldn't arrest Chachu when NDC was in power, but arrested Chachu when NPP was in power, couldn't arrest Samuel Boating when NPP was in power. Now they were arresting Samuel Boating when NDC came back to power. This is not institutionalism. Fast forward, Nana Akufo-Addo's car was seized by a policeman who had been ordered by Victor Smith. You know these stories. I mean, as a researcher, I put these things down because it brings instability. And then they said it was part of the MPP cars, so it was seized. Unfortunately, it was Nana Akufo-Addo's car. When eventually Atamiri said, give the car back to him immediately, we had steps coming out to say the car was uncustomed. Oh, all along the car was being used, you didn't know it was uncustomed. As soon as the government changed hands, then you know the car was uncustomed. What was customs doing? I have 1 million examples of how institutions behave because they come under the ambit of the one who is ruling. That is not institutionalism. When you have institutionalism, those who are ruling fear. They fear the institutions because the institutions will work only according to the remit given them by the Constitution. And that's democracy. That is when we are having democracy. then prudence in economic governance is part of democracy. We were talking about how the social, civil society and others must help in bringing about, that's prudence. Then probity and accountability, dialogue and transparency, participation in the process by the socioeconomic partners in development. When you leave the people without them making inputs in whatever you want to do, that's not democracy. Then adherence to global best practices. You may want to practice something which is not known anywhere. You want to be a little dictator. The Taliban, for example, they say, look, Sharia and nothing else. But global best practices. I don't say copy, but if the whole world is going this way, why can't I gradually also thaw up? That is what the United Nations have been. The United Nations is a captive of those big powers who want to use the United Nations for their whatever. And therefore, peace has become a myth. The reality, because the world is becoming more unpeaceful. Terrorism is everywhere and is not going to die today. The 21st century is a century of terrorism because of the way we want to plant our wish through the institutions of globalization on people everywhere. Agenda setting is the biggest role of the state actors and set the agenda for the crystallization and consolidating of democracy. We must ensure democratic culture. Democratic culture. Everybody believes in democracy. When we are able to let the citizens understand democracy and they're participating in democracy, then we've done our way. And that is why they have tolerance and they practice democracy in their own state. So, to ensure the consolidation of democracy, state actors and especially civil society must set the agenda for democratic culture. Education is a vital component of any society, but especially of a democracy. If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never shall be. There is a direct connection between education and democratic values. In democratic societies, educational content and practice supports habits of democratic governance. This educational transmission process is vital in a democracy because effective democracies are dynamic, evolving forms of government that demand independent thinking by the citizenry. The opportunity for positive social and political change rests in citizens' hands.